technical.
Oh,
Go ahead.
hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Chatting with Charity.
Hey everyone, you are now tuned in to Chatting with Charity.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Chatting with Charity. I am your host, Charity Wyatt, and I am excited that you have come in to join in the chat room tonight. Listen, this is the last episode of season one, and hey, we are about to wrap this thing up with a bang. Um, I thank you all for coming in and supporting every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. This has really been a wonderful experience, and it's been a wonderful ride chatting with you guys. So here's what we need you to do. Go to YouTube and subscribe to Chatting with Charity. And also, if you're on Facebook Live, we need you to share. We need you to like, love, and we also want you to go to the page Chatting with Charity and send a friend request. Okay. So look, as I once said before, we've been doing a lot of giveaways, and tonight this will be the last episode to do a giveaway. So last week's podcast winner won a Best Buy gift card, right? So and the other weeks has just been really good. One got an Amazon gift card, the other one got a copy of my new book. One got a free turkey. It's just wonderful to be able to give. Um, so like I say, in order for you to be eligible, you got to make sure you comment. I'm chatting with Charity, and make sure you share. And hey, tag some people, invite them in to come and chat with us tonight. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get it started. So tonight we have some special guests that's coming in to chat with me, and I'm excited because this is family. So what better way to close it out than to close it out with family, right? We have Pastor Andrew Smith with us from Kingdom Life Center, and we also have Pastor Christy Smith with us all the way from Kingdom Life Center. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and let them introduce themselves. But tonight the topic that we're gonna be talking about, which we all can relate to, is transitioning for young pastors. So if you know any young pastors that are going through, or some that's in the process of um being into the pastoral office or whatever, and you're young, I want you to go ahead and invite them into the chat room. All right. Okay. So go ahead, Drew. Just, you don't mind if I call you Drew?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect. That's perfect.
Introduce yourself.
Yep, I'm Andrew Smith, and I'm so excited to be here. So first and foremost, I wanted to say thank you for having us on. We are excited, extremely excited to be here, and what better way to wrap up the season than having the Smiths on? So,
That's right.
thank you for having us here.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And I am Christy Smith. Also, thank you for having us on. And we're just excited to get to fellowship with you, really.
Right. Right. Long time. Long time. All right. So let's get chatting. So this is for both of you. How has the transition been going from being assistant to your parents to now pastoring for yourself?
Yeah, it has been a transition. It's been very smooth, and one of the things that we've been able to establish early on was, hey, this is something that we're moving in this direction, and we had a lot of on the job training. So it
Absolutely.
didn't just happen overnight. It didn't just like, oh, we woke up and now we're here. We had a plan in place for passing the torch. And I was joking, not joking, I was serious. I was like, man, it happened a little faster than I wanted it to, as far as I was like, I wanted to get another 18 months
Yeah.
and just kind of slowly get into the role. But, it's it's been a transition, but it's been very smooth because we worked on it for a long time. We've had a lot of hands-on training, and I think when you are transitioning into something new, you don't want to be stuck in the theoretical box where in theory, this is how you do this, this is how you do this. If if it's gonna be your first time doing something, like I don't want to wake up one day and it's like, you got to cook, dinner for Thanksgiving. I want to get a few practice meals
Right.
out of the way and then, slowly work towards it. So that's kind of how our progression was. And, I think, my parents have done a great job with slow walking us up towards what it is we're doing now, and kind of making sure everybody was on the same page, and then, slowly but surely turn it over to us. So.
Right. Right. So let me ask you this question. Um, do you feel like serving has really helped you and allowed it to be more smoother than it really is? You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
like, um, cause it's a hard job. It's a hard job. So, how important is it to serve while assisting?
Yeah, it's very important, and like I'm glad you said it's a job, but it's not a job like any other job that you can
Yeah.
have. So there's not a whole lot of examples that you can pull from. There are things that come up within the church that it's like, yeah, I've been managing for 20 years or what have you, but this is not the same as, at your job or at your business,
That's true.
and serving and being there. And I think that, there's such a smooth, not a smooth, but there's such a easy to understand biblical blueprint for, service under your leader and then transitioning into that place. Again, you don't just wake up and some people have had that story. That just wasn't our story. And I
Mhm.
didn't want it to be either. I wanted
Yeah.
to serve. I wanted to be there. I wanted people to see, this going back 23 years, you've seen me take out the trash. You've seen me usher. You've seen me,
Right.
cut the
That
grass.
right
You've seen
there.
me do all this stuff,
Mhm.
so they understand, like, I'm homegrown. I didn't just jump into it.
Mhm.
It's not a birthright,
Come on.
so they can, my parents can transition and pass that title of pastor to me, but, the people have to also accept you as pastor, and, and
Right.
that's a delicate dance as well. But the servantship has helped so much, and people have kind of, gotten accustomed and been able to see your character through your service as well. So it's helped out tremendously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, girl. Let's talk about you. I want to talk about the transition as far as being the daughter-in-law and at the same time being the wife.
Mhm. I agree with Drew. I think the transition has been smooth, still scary. I very much agree with you. It's still scary. You're like transitioning into something that you. It's like you. I kind of know it's going to happen, but like Drew said, you think you have more time until it's kind of upon you. But I think the beautiful thing of how our transition has been set up is like you're transitioning, but you have a safety net. So like we definitely have his parents that are like, I love Barb Jean. That's like my Barb. This is what
She's
I'm thinking.
online.
Yeah.
Shout out to Barb.
So she has been like a really big help. Also, you know my mom. So
Shout
yeah.
out to Dolores.
So I think just having both our parents be in ministry, both our parents be pastors, you kind of do have that safety net to where like if all else fails, I know I can go to these two women of God and just kind of like, hey, this is where I am. How can you help me? Like I'm struggling. And so having that, I think, has been tremendous in making the process smoothly, so you don't feel alone or like isolated out there by yourself.
Right. So it's good to have someone in your corner, or you got to have that one person, like that one person who's in that position, excuse me, that'll actually understand what you're dealing with, right?
Yes.
Although they may don't know how it is to, pass it on, but still they know how it is to be a pastor, right?
Yes. I think that's helpful. Also, I think for me, a ground thing I have like my core group of friends who know Christy for Christy. She's
Right.
not, it's not mother, it's not Pastor Christy. This is just Christy. So when they see me like, oh, okay, I'm struggling with this, y'all. They can give me feedback or help me because purely they just love me, not because of who you
Right.
are, what position you hold, but because we love this person.
Now that's important. It's
Mhm.
important to have, like to have friends who know you, know the call that you have on your life. They don't judge, they don't judge you. They know they can depend on you to go to God, stuff like that, but you can still be free. You can still
Yes.
be you around. And you got to have that, you can't just be super spiritual constantly. It got to be a balance,
Agree.
so that's good. You said something. I remember your father mentioned one time how important that he taught on succession. And he always said that he was going to start working towards and training towards succession. And then you said something about on the job training. Now, I'm gonna put myself in here right quick, and then I'm gonna jump out. Is that okay?
Stay in it.
I don't want to stay. Well, as you know, I think we had a lot of on the job training. Lots of on the job training, not knowing that it was going to have to happen quickly and without of our control. And I think one of the greatest things that you guys have the honor of is being able to serve with both of your parents.
Yeah.
That's valuable.
Yeah.
The fact that they're trusting you with the people. They're trusting you. They know that what they have taught you, have instilled in you, it's time to come forth. Some people don't have that.
Yeah.
And the Bible says honor your father and mother, right? I think the best thing that you can do as far as transitioning to young pastors is honor them in that way.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what I love about your parents, they hear from God and they move quickly.
Yeah.
You know. So to me that's an honor. When my father passed, I believe he was getting ready to. You could tell he was. But God did something different.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom was like, look, and my father always, he would let the church know, look, this is what's going to happen. This is the future. He would always say, it's so funny. He would always say, and I would be so mad and so embarrassed because I did not want to be a pastor. And he would say, Charity gonna be the pastor. She gonna take over, and whoever she married, they got to fall in line and do it too. And I'm thinking, well, what if they don't want to do it? You know, like I ain't gonna be able to. Like, am I gonna be able to have a husband like that? But God just blessed me with the right person who he knew was my purpose partner, right? And will be able to fall in line. And I'm finna go different right quick. How important, like dating, did y'all talk about that? Or did you just kind of know? Or, I mean, I know love. I was around when y'all was dating. So, just how did it happen? Like, did you ask her, hey, you know, look, I kind of know this way it's going later on in life. I may not be living like this right now. I may not be doing it now, but I kind of know this where my future gonna go.
I was living. No, I'm
Nah, yeah. No, sir.
Well, Drew, I wouldn't. I'm just gonna tell the truth.
Y'all read y'all book. Get the book.
Yeah,
Go to
get the
page
book.
30. Go to page 30. I want to know the real. But I think I think that it's kind of funny for us. It's a long-standing dispute as far as like, hey, if I'd have known this, but I know my memory's a little bit better than hers.
No.
But I know for a fact.
Let's talk about it.
No,
I
had
love
he
it.
I told her,
told me that this was the plan, I would have said, "Thank you, sir. I've enjoyed our time."
I believe it. I believe it.
God
But,
bless you.
But you know, it's funny, you know, the way that life works.
Yeah.
And it's like we talked about it,
Mm-hmm.
and we got married, and we talked about it again,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, sometimes, hey, but you are where you're supposed to be, and we're where we're supposed to be. Our marriage, even us dating, it was funny in the way that it happened because our parents, our mothers started working together. So sometimes I joke, I'd be like, well, I'm in an arranged marriage, like, you know, but because we didn't like each other
At all.
and when we first met, she didn't even notice me, and then going in, I won't go into it. All
We
the
don't
way,
need to.
But you know, going back to like junior high, it was like she wasn't the type of person I was looking for.
Oh,
But-
okay. And he wasn't either.
But you know,
You know what?
but she
I
you
can't
know,
with
she
y'all.
grew on it. You know, like again, our parents, our mothers started working together. You know, both our moms,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
know how they are.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you know, and the rest is history. But answering the original question, we had the conversation, but
Mhm.
it was when you have a conversation like that at 21, and you're thinking about like right now, we're knocking at 40, and it's
Yeah,
hard
y'all
to
knocking and I'm there.
Oh.
Man.
it's hard to visualize. Well, what does my life look like at 65? But
Right.
imagine you having this conversation at 21.
Mhm.
You know, I think our church we had a church for 3 years, and
Mhm.
it's like, well, is it even gonna still be around in 20 years? So
Right.
you don't know,
Mhm.
and so as we progress, I think the signs became clearer.
Mhm.
The prophecies became louder, and you know,
That's the
I
truth.
think yeah. So
That's the truth. You be like, man, and let me tell you, at one point I was like, did my mom and daddy tell these people to say, like, did they go talk in the office?
yeah,
Mm.
You know, but then I was like, golly, everybody's saying this. Like, I can't run from it as much as I wanted to.
yeah,
I couldn't run from it.
But I
So,
think that's a key point. For me, I've always been, and my mom can vouch for this. I'm a very strong mind, strong willed person. So like I guess for me, even hearing prophecy sometimes I'm just like, okay, Jesus can tell you, but if he ain't tell me, then I like it ain't that. But I think the biggest thing of that is the more like those prophecies start to ring true, the more it starts to align with where you see yourself going in Christ. And so it gets to a point where you like, I can't deny it anymore. And I see it aligning with how my family's going, how my marriage is going. And so sometimes it's hard and it's a struggle, I'll say for me, but to really just submit your will to like, okay, God, I'm tired of fighting.
There you go.
I'm tired of
Submitting
fighting.
that will and killing that flesh. Woo. So, okay. So for the both of you, how has this process pushed you guys out of your comfort zones?
I'll let her answer first.
Okay. And I would love to hear this.
It has been a big push for me because I am, as my mom likes to put it, very professional. So like I like things.
You are, and your husband said to tell about your professional.
Okay, so I am a licensed professional counselor.
Okay.
Okay.
She's very professional, y'all.
So,
Certified, licensed.
Certified.
but I think the biggest thing for me is it kind of pushed me to start using that gift within the ministry. So like if I'm at my job or if I'm sitting down with my clients doing counseling, I can do it. But for me, God was starting to say, okay, I just didn't make you a counselor just for these things. So I need you to start transitioning this into the body, like with the Christians. I'm not sorry but with the saints. And a big thing is I shout out to D-Lo. My mom she was doing this women's group at her church, and she was like, yeah, you just come add like your professionalism and I'll do spiritual. And so before I knew it, I'm like, Mama, I'm pretty much teaching it. She was like, yeah, I knew it. That's God, I just wanted to show you how it can work. So for me, that's a big push because I tend to like, hey, I'm laid back in the cut. I'm we cool. I keep it very like, hey, so it's really pushing me now to, okay, now I need you to use your voice. Now I need you to really start walking in the calling I have for you. And that sometimes it's scary. It's a little uncomfortable, but that's been a big push for me.
Wonderful. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
My goodness. Christy coming out. Yes. What about you, Drew?
Yeah, I don't think for me, I going back to comfort zone, I know for a fact I do prefer to be behind the scenes. I kind of like to, move behind the scenes. I don't like I don't like public celebrations. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like if I can get a spot in the back, and so that part has been, a little bit different. But other than
now you
that,
got to be up front all the time.
yeah. So other than that, I think everything else has been smooth, and it's been the stuff I've expected. It's been that, and then the stuff that you can't prepare for, that has been, hey, just trust your training, trust your relationship with your God, trust your relationship with your family and your wife, and and trust yourself to hear from the Holy Spirit. But the comfort zone, like I said, other than just being out in front all the time, that has been, the most difficult thing about it. But other than that, it's been a pretty smooth
I got
transition.
a question for both of y'all. How? Okay, this coming off the dome. So, like, how important is for y'all to lean on each other
Go ahead.
in ministry? Like, how important is it?
I think it's vital because I think for me, the biggest thing is at the end of the day, when we go home and we in our home, at that point, you're not my pastor.
Absolutely.
You are my husband.
And
Sarah
she's
called
telling the
Abraham Lord.
Okay.
She
Shout out to
okay.
Bishop Cade.
This is true, but listen.
I'm just playing.
Okay. But I think that is
Church got to stay at church.
it
now.
does. But I think that's important. The thing is, I don't ever, and I think we've had like conversations about this, but this is like an ongoing dialogue. I don't ever want it to be where I have to fake the funk. Like I'm not good at. So when I come to church, if I'm standing up there, standing beside, I want it to be because I love this person.
That's
I
right.
see, I genuinely want to be here for this person.
That's right.
And so to me, the only way that we keep our connection strong is we make it a priority and we remember each other in this thing. So when I'm doing something or moving, it's not just me. This is me and Andrew, and vice versa.
Absolutely. See, because y'all got to see us as one. We ain't two. We one.
Yeah.
What about you? How important?
It's it's the most important thing. So
Yeah.
like, and that I think there was one time I was talking to my dad and I wanted to be like, hey bro, don't worry. But his biggest thing was like, this church stuff is not important compared to, like, if you got to lose your family to do the church stuff, it's not worth it. And he
At
just
all.
kept, like, hit me over the head with that. He was so, my parents were really concerned about her, and and that's the thing is, I'm like, I'll shield her as best as I can, but she, she's gonna be able to do this better than you think she is.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, hey, this is a hard thing to do, and it's even harder if your marriage is jacked up. Now, I won't lie to you and say, because you have more experience than I do, so I won't make it seem like I haven't been pastoring for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things that when it's fresh, like we hadn't hit the dog days yet, but we do have some experiences outside of church that have really helped shape us in our marriage. And I think about it all the time because one of the things that we did, we bought a house back in 2013. 6 weeks later, our oldest son was born, and 2 months after that, I quit my job. So I started this business, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And that whole experience really tested the marriage, like being gone all the time, working, I thought I was like, oh, I'll be an owner. Now I'm working even more than I worked at a job. And we learned how to put the marriage first.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, that's the time we became homeowners, parents, business owners in a 3-month stretch. And we learned with all these cool titles, because it's really cool to be like, I'm the pastor, I'm an owner, I'm the CEO, I'm Noah's dad, I'm this person's mom. But, I am Christy's husband is the most important thing. And we keep that in perspective, and we don't let, outside influences influence, our marriage or what have you. So
I love it.
yeah, so we have to lean on each other to make it through the day. She, I'm always pushing her in her business. I'm like, hey, if you can't monetize it, you can't do it. And she looking at me like, it's from the heart. Ain't no from the heart around here. But but us both being business owners and us both having full-time jobs and us with the kids and with the church, so it's a lot of different things. So we learn how to, hey, we're gonna make sure we take time to be with one another, travel, when we can, shut it down when we can. We'll probably talk about it later, but it's very important to know, hey, who are we? Where are we trying to go? And that's going to help you figure out what to say yes to, what to say no to. Everything you say, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Come on.
And there are times where we just talked about that before we came here. I had a client that I'm essentially not going to make any money from. And I'm like, why am I trying to go drive to Coshada at 10 o'clock at night to do this for a client? And I'm like, I'm not doing it, And I'm like, because if I say yes to that, then the end of the day is that's our time where we connect, where we sit down and we talk, we catch up, we make sure we're on the same page. And I'm like, I'm saying no to that to go do this for a client. So like I said, we learn how to say what we need to say yes to, what we need to say no to. And we kind of stick to our guns pretty strongly. It takes a lot to convince us to go against that initial gut feeling of, hey, I should turn this down,
Yeah.
So just like playing dominoes, all money ain't good money.
Come
You
on.
can't jump at every opportunity. You can't, preach everybody happy, and then you go home and your house is, or your life
Talk
is a mess.
about
So,
it.
take care of the, most important thing, and everything else will fall in line.
Absolutely. Like, we are big on making sure we do dates. dates with each other, family time, stuff like that. Especially before something big comes along in ministry or something like that, we have to prioritize family first. Um, because there's time when we first started off, we saw that, hey, okay, we lacking in this, we lacking in this area, and then we had to do what you said. Okay, hold up, wait. Nope, this ain't gonna work. We finna make sure we put ourselves right, cause the more we are built up, and can lean on each other, love each other, the more we can be better for the people, or we'll have more strength. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just better. It's just better that way. And
Well, your family is your first ministry.
it is.
So,
That's
yeah.
it's your first ministry, and you can't come telling me something and your family ain't right.
Yes. No,
I just
fair.
my mama used to always say, if the first lady looking crazy, we know it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, huh? All you gotta do is look at her. If she ain't smiling, it's a problem. She used to say, all first ladies don't know how to do it. And I would say, huh? Don't know how to do it. And then I realized, I said, okay. She said, the pastor could be up preaching and saying some good stuff. But if that first lady doing something different, something ain't right. And I realized, I said, okay. And I ain't gonna lie, it took me a while. And then finally I said, man, Charity, you don't get yourself together. Get yourself right. And when I got myself right, everything just started going smooth. Everything was just, so. And also, I think you kind of said this earlier, almost like being in a routine of it. Like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. It's kind of like, for me, I'm big on legacy. So I'm trying to make sure I'm following legacy, stuff like that. And then I had to realize I had to kind of back because I was so busy trying to build on legacy so hard until it was like, hold up, God may be trying to do something a little different, and I'm trying to stick to what once was, and you have your mate that's like, okay, well, God's showing this, that, and the third, something different. And I'm like, that ain't how we used to do it. And I was like, man, you don't stop being so stubborn. Like, I had to come to myself. Holy Ghost actually got me together. He did.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of, and I said, okay, back up, So I know with you, I'm pretty sure it will be about legacy as well. But I like the fact that you are able to come into your own.
Yeah.
And your parents allow you to come into your own. I'm coming into my own more now too. So it's
Good
the
for you.
transition. It is. It really is. I'm finding out really who God has really called me to be, and not really more of who I feel I'm supposed to be.
Yes. I think Pastor Roland, or Mr. Roland as I call him, that's one of my favorite things about him, is that I feel like he constantly reminds, and I'll just say, even for me, like, people need Christy. They don't need like another Barbara Jean. They don't need another. They need whatever God has equipped you with, and you just have to stand tall in who He made you. And so it's like, if that's the next transition for y'all, then that means these people that are used to a certain thing, now they need Christy. So you have to show up genuinely who you are. He was like, because you won't last. It's not sustainable if it's not you. So you have to be you. And so I kind of, ever since he said that, I've like really kind of kept that ingrained of like, don't feel like you have to fit into a certain cookie cutter or show up a certain way, but be who you are, because God called you just as you are, and He's made you how you are. So it will work. You don't have to try to figure it out or make yourself work. in the situation. So that has been tremendous for us, just being able to have that ability to be genuine. Like, hey, well, let's do something different. I know y'all used to doing this, or maybe we can kind of throw this in a different way and just like, all right, let's try it. Don't work, we can just go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, that's true. Because I'm telling you, it was tough trying to be somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, and, it's just important to be yourself and to allow God to use you, with who you are and your personality.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Let me ask you this. With both of you guys having parents that are pastors, what are some things that they did for you, or some things that you saw that you really didn't understand, but now you can say because you are in these shoes, in this position now? Oh man, I understand. Cause like I was like, I remember y'all might laugh at me, but when we first started off, it's only been September gonna be 3 years. Well, actually 4, but anyway, my daddy died. I kept going to the grave. First of all, I shouldn't have went. But I kept going to the grave. I was like, I'm so sorry. Now I see all this stuff. You was telling me. I used to be like, I wouldn't, if I was you, I wouldn't do it like this.
Yeah.
Or why are you doing it like this? And he would always say, you going to see one day. You'll see one day why I moved like this, why I did this way. And like, I was like, I'm so sorry, because now I see it. I wished I wouldn't have never, judged you or never gave you problems, with how you was doing stuff. So let's talk about that. Like,
Yeah, I'll let Christy go.
So look, so mine's gonna be a little different. It's a little two-edged. Okay.
Go ahead.
I think for me, I saw a lot of things that look, no, not too hard on Jimmy Ray. My dad wouldn't always say, but he and Jesus, and he doing good now. So
come on.
But for me,
shout out to Mr. Jimmy.
I feel like I saw what ministry could do to you, and so from that, I'm always.
Absolutely.
I have been strong, and if you ask Mom, she'd be like, she do boundaries too. But for me now, I'm like, I know you got to move with boundaries.
Christy, that's the biggest. Oh my God.
You have to, because I've seen like people, and I'm just use some of the Lord's. Like I've seen people be so attracted to your gifting and use you, and when you like at your last or you empty, those same people are not around, and so you have to go back like to your family, be refueling. So for me, I've just been like, look, you moving into this, if nothing else, you got to have some boundaries. You've got to remember what is the priority for you. Remember, there is power in no.
Come on.
You don't. People's expectations of how you should show up, when you should show up, that don't have to be true for me.
Come on.
And I don't have a problem. I'm definitely a little more verbal than Drew in this part, but I don't always have to be available to you. And so
that's right.
I think for me, the biggest thing, and I've kind of seen my mom's journey of learning, like, okay, all right, Dolores, now I got to know when I can and when I can't. But also the other side of that is I've learned to really see her be unauthentically her. Yes, and the Lord's going to be the Lord wherever she at anytime.
Absolutely.
And so the beauty of that, though, is I've seen what it means when people say, like, your room will make gift for you. Mm-hmm. Your gift will, Your gift. Yes. And so I've seen her like go into these impossible situations. Like everybody always talk about her on the car lot and stuff. And I remember when she started on the car lot. I was like, Lord, the Lord ain't never sold no car. I said, and I remember we dropped off her first day because I was doing the rounds picking up our siblings. I was like, Mama, she's like, girl, I don't know what I'm doing, but how Jesus said, now you, baby, the Lord's tell you about any car. And those, so watching her and killing it. And so watching her journey of just like, every time God, like his word will never fail. He will always take care of you. So just seeing that, I think even outside of like all her roles and titles and just seeing this woman of God, like God just continually taking care of her, taking care of us as a family. For me, I'm like, I have to live that now, because like I don't have
Absolutely.
no excuse. It's like I can't say, oh, I ain't never seen Jesus. Like I done seen Jesus heal her from cancer,
Come on.
like a full blown cancer, and I seen this tiny little woman take radiation in these short amount of months. So like you can't tell me miracles aren't real. So
Come on.
it's really like has for me been able to just like, okay, in the moments where I didn't understand as a youth growing up, like, okay, Lord, why we got to be at church all the time? Like, the Lord, you ain't got to go to the prayer line every time. But now I get
That's
it.
true though.
But I get
you get it now, but you don't. Cause like now I'm almost like, why I'm doing altar calls all the time. And then I used to, cause I'm like, golly, daddy, mom and daddy, I had to do an altar call all the time. And now I can't stop it. I'm like, oh, look like Holy Spirit come up on you. You be like, okay,
Yes.
you know, the people need it.
Yes, and you see the
So-
repercussions of when you don't, when you try to like, okay, you
That's
try to
right.
quench the spirit, and baby,
That's
Jesus
right.
will get a hold of me real fast and be like, what did I ask you to do? And I'm
That's
like, okay,
right. That's
let
right.
me just call this
So-
person or yes.
So what you in pretty much what you're saying is you were taught on how to have boundaries and know when to give access and know when access is denied.
Yes, because I think you can see you, and I'm sure you.
Oh, baby, you can.
You can. I'm sure you can look back in your mind and see like examples of when, dog, that should have been a no. Like that person was at their capacity, and
Uh-huh.
so now it's just like I'm not going to forget that, and I'm going to move differently in these situations.
So you know how to move.
Mm-hmm.
Move differently. And you're also saying, I know how to live a life of faith
Mm-hmm.
by what I saw. I didn't
Yes.
understand it then, but now I can operate in faith because of the examples that I had in front of me.
100%.
I love this. I love this. Drew, come on, because we gon' I
Yeah,
know I said 7:30, but we just
you
gonna
already-
talk.
So for me, there for my whole life I always had like a sense of duty,
Mhm.
and they didn't do anything that I was like, I always felt like I understood why they would do it. And there's
Mhm.
time like whether it's the job, career, the church, the family, it's just when you know your why, you know, that helps you out.
That's good.
You know, so having clarity of purpose helps you determine what I will and won't do. I don't really have boundaries per se, but you know, like my filter is my wife. So there's times when I'm like, all right, what I'm gonna do to protect myself is just filter
So-
it through.
So you don't
You know,
have
my
to
wife.
have them then.
No, I don't.
'Cause so what? I'm not trying to cut you off, but so what you saying is you can lean on her discernment,
Yeah.
and that's why y'all need us.
so-
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
so for me, which again, you know, everybody's still there. So some stuff is not even coming to me yet.
Mhm.
But when it does, it's going to be a lot of, you know, see Christy about that, you know, and that's the way I plan to move. Not to just burden her with a lot of stuff. There are things that by nature, I think that most people in the population are going to be takers. And they'll
This
take
is true.
as much as you give.
This is true.
So if you know, I think about times where there was a specific time where we were going to see to go into Alabama to see our friend graduate, and you know, Posey was graduating from law school, and we're packed up, we're all ready to go. So it's me, Christy, my mom, my dad, and something happened with a church member's parent, and my dad couldn't go. And so at that time, it's like I know why you're pulling out of the trip, you know. So we went. But then at the same time, you know, you look up in a year or so and that person may not even be around. And so what you want to do with your congregation, so to speak, is you want to have a clear understanding. And, you know, some situations are just going to happen. But you kind of want to have that clear understanding of, hey, this is the covenant that we're operating off of. And, you know, I'll be there for you, but this is what I need out of you. And, you know, it's not like tears or anything, but you want to make sure you're just not like a person off the street. You just like not just going crazy for before we even established a relationship.
Mhm.
And then when it gets to that point where we do have this covenant, you know, these are the boundaries and these are the guidelines that govern the covenant, you know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
for the most part, it helps out tremendously. And then that way you can use your strength and your wisdom on these outlier issues. But you don't want to just be in a situation where you're just giving,
Right.
taking away, hey, for me, it was funny the other night I went to sleep super late and I didn't put my phone on do not disturb, but I always do that. And sure enough, that was the night I got a call and it woke me up and then I couldn't go back to sleep and stuff. But, like, hey, after a certain time, I'm not available.
Absolutely. My
And,
phone stay on D&D. I got a
Oh,
D&D
come on.
ministry and a good blocking one.
What? It's needed
Come
sometimes.
I
Go with
do.
it.
I have
But-
to. And I think, I just never changed my routine after being out of recovery.
Mm.
My doctor kept telling me, hey, you have to learn how to rest a lot, rest your eyes a lot. So I'm just always in this rest mode. And I kind of have to because I can be on 10.
Yeah.
So I have to always be, rest. So it's like, okay, I'll get who I need to get at the moment that I need to get. But to me, rest is important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in ministry, you need to get as much rest as you can. Because it'll wear you out if you let it. But just don't let it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. I want to talk about being a PK. Being a PK, how has being a PK, well, you a PK, but you kind of,
Yeah.
you're a PK. I'm going to say let me tell you why I'm going to say you're a PK.
Okay.
Because you've been in this life and you done walk close and you done seen a lot of stuff, right?
Mhm.
You really have seen it.
Yes.
So your mama kind of really already been in this calling.
Yeah, she
for
just
many
officially got
years.
her building.
There you
Yes.
go. So that's
Mhm.
really what it is. So how has that affected anything with y'all transitioning to pastoralship?
I think that's why it was so scary to me.
Nah, this the realness. 'Cause this what I like to talk about, and I don't want nobody to be like, oh, she just traumatized by being a PK.
No,
And-
it's stuff people.
But it's just
yeah.
real.
Mm-hmm.
It's just real life. So let's talk about it. How has that given you any thought or affected anything, or has it even pushed you more? Just
Yeah, I think for me, it didn't influence the decision either way. But I think one of the good things that I did from a young age, I was like, look, I'm going to stay out of grown folks' business, and I'm not going to be all in the mix. So my experience, even within my own house, was very, very different from even my siblings. And there's like people like, oh, this happened or this drama or somebody, because the thing with me too, I'm like, all right, well, it's 500 churches in our town. My thing
Too
is,
many.
if this one don't work, go to the next one. Don't stay here. Don't
Can you
be
repeat
unhappy.
that again and
Just-
say it louder?
Hey, find you a place. So it's a lot of churches and there's a lot of different pastors. So, of course, as PKs, you're going to be like getting offended. You'll be ready to fight behind your parents. But, like, hey, look, Miss Jones, like, don't be afraid to go out and see if you can find what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
But for the most part, my experience as a PK, like I said, I served in the church, I worked in the church, but a lot of the drama, like I'm pretty much a run the other way anyway when when stuff is going down. So that kind of helped me as far as like reimagining what church could be. So I'm like, which we know us, and we know church people, we know Christians, and then we know us.
Because there's a
And-
difference with church people, kingdom people, and who you really are.
Yeah,
And
so
there's a difference.
we do know that
Because
hey,
church people and kingdom people are two different people.
two different
Mhm.
people, but we know things can happen. But I was like, it don't have to be like that. Like I wasn't gonna be a pastor if it was gonna be like Greenlee. Like what's it? That's
Come
his name
on.
of the show, right?
Yes,
so
you're
I was
talking
like-
well, though.
So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like I refuse to do that. So
You're talking
part
well.
of it is just reimagining what it could be, and again, sitting in the back seat and watching it unfold for the last 23 years, I kind of like, okay, I would have did this way, but for the most part, that outcome align with where we were trying to go anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of let me know, like, hey, when I do get this chance, this is what I do. And, you get to avoid a lot of pitfalls. But,
Yeah.
that traumatic experience that a lot of PKs had, I that wasn't,
Mhm.
what I had, but part of it, hey, I'm gonna just be back here. I'm serving. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm not getting caught up in drama. And, we moved away for a while and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's been very smooth and it has helped out tremendously. But, I think we mentioned it before we started.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, especially in ministry, like they just become like, oh, I'm this. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like you ain't apostle everybody everywhere you go.
Say that.
So like most people, they don't have any type of personality. Like they don't
Come
have,
on.
like the young kids say, most people really don't have no motion.
Mm-hmm.
So they need this position in the church
mm-hmm.
to kind of justify their existence. And I think for Christy and I, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Right.
We were very reluctant. Like we stepped up to the plate, but we were also reluctant because we don't, I remember years and years ago where it was like, who's going to get this office? Who's going to get this office? And we were both thinking like, man, we got offices all over. Like we got
Right.
offices at work. We got our own business. We got our own building. We don't, we got our private but a person that's just, they want to be involved in the church so they can get, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
get their cloud up, and that,
Mhm.
for us, it's like, man, we got motion. We don't, we're not in it for that reason, but, our goal is a little different. We're looking for a little different outcome,
Absolutely. You talked very well.
I see, and this is the beauty of us. I think this is the yin and yang of, because Drew is very much like the heart of our relationship. Like he is
right.
the softer. I
Hey,
am.
most
Yeah.
men are like,
Yeah, and I'm professional until you mess with my people. Like don't mess with my people. So I think
That's D-Lo coming out of you.
for me, I've seen like the good and the bad side of church
Mhm.
things, and
Mhm.
so I've like been in things where I'm like, okay, mama, I'm just have to fight them. I'm sorry. Like I know you saying like that's but yeah, I just feel like that was personal and I don't like that. And so I think for me, the biggest thing about it is just, I guess it's going back to being true to who you are, but also I want people to not think that you can easily divide us. And that, to me, that is like a strong thing. Like you can, even if he ain't my
Lord,
favorite
have mercy.
person today, don't ever think you can come talk sly about him or say that we not gonna do that. And I
Did
feel
y'all
like
hear her well? And I need y'all to hear that for every leader. That's all I'm saying.
but I think it's establishing that, like, even when it comes to like our pastors, my in-laws, like
Come
my
on.
mom, I'm not like, we good and we can be for Jesus and kingdom, all the good things, but
Mhm.
don't play with my people. Like
Mhm.
don't my sisters, if it's somebody I cherish, I don't play about that. And if that means you got to go battle and then Jesus take one jewel out of my crown, then that has to be
Oh Lord.
then that's just gonna have to be. But I do, even with saying that, I think that is kind of why our dynamic works in that sense of,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm not as afraid to say the hard things or to
Right.
have the uncomfortable conversations,
Mhm.
and I don't mind being like his voice of like, hey, we ain't doing it, so don't ask him. He don't want to do that. We not doing. So and vice versa. When I'm in my like, I ain't doing that. Drew is really good at like, okay, but what's the picture? What are we doing? What are we trying? So I think just having that like balance in each other
Yeah,
really like helps us.
absolutely. I like that I like the fact he allows you to be you.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Cause some like to quiet us down.
I don't think
Some
he
like
could if he
to-
tried, Sharon.
We would fight through. We
We-
would fight through. We would. I just
Yeah, I'm very much though. I don't mind having an uncomfortable conversation, but
Yeah.
you're probably not gonna ever get a unnecessary conversation
Talk
out
about
of
it.
me. And, you know, the thing that people have to understand is like, you don't have to address everything.
That's good.
And, you know, I always think of that quote, you know, walk tall and carry a big stick. And it's like, you know, sometimes we get into like, you're never going to see me go back and forth with nobody on the internet.
Come
You're
on.
never going to see me like have to
Okay, Beyonce.
get a phone, get the phone and face it towards me and address something like, hey, y'all, I got, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just recently captivated by like a social media sensation that's going on right now with this young man, Travis Hunter, and his fiance. And it's like, she just dropped an 8-minute video. And I'm thinking like, why are you spending energy on strangers? And so that's my thing is like, people think a lot of times they'll be like, well, he's nervous or he's scared to, like, no, I can have uncomfortable conversations. I don't have unnecessary conversations. And we don't, like I said, you don't have to address everything. Now there are times, but the caveat to that is you got to kind of live the life that coincides with that. So
Help
like,
us.
also, like, you're not going to get rumors about me either because I'm not putting myself in that position. But don't be like, I ain't going to dress nothing that ain't real. And you know, you be, you know, straddling the line and you know, you got some crazy DMs. So, you know, you can't be the person with a skeleton in the closet and then saying, oh, I'm not going to dress, you know, but again, you got to save your energy, you know, like, hey, you know, think about the energy you spend on a Sunday. You know, like, you can't go into Sunday tired because you've been dealing with people all week. So, you know, you just find what works for you, be who you are, but, you know, don't get caught up into too much stuff. Again, a lot of people don't have anything going on, and so they want to. And you could tell somebody that don't have anything going on because they got plenty of time to tell you what they heard about you and what they think about you and what they feel about you. And, you know, that's just 3 things I never had to do about anybody I've been connected to, any pastor that I've served under, or, you know, any church I've gone to. Like, you're not going to hear me say, you know, any bad thing. So, you know, again, you want to, in the organization, in the church, you want to get the right people there. You want to get the wrong people off the bus. And then you want to get the right people that are on the bus in the right seats. And you got to teach people, hey, you guys come in and you're saying, hey, I got this anointing and I'm called to do this and I got this 5-fold gift. And you got to let people know, like, all these 5-fold gifts ain't just for the church. They for the world. So you may not be able to get up here on the stage on Sunday, but I got $20. Go buy you a microphone. Take your iPhone.
Yes,
record
sir.
yourself. And, you know, it's other outlets. It's other platforms. It's other venues that you can use. So.
I just love that, Drew. Y'all, he dropping gems like he spitting wisdom. Did y'all hear the man say, all 5-fold gifts are not to be, say it again,
They're all just not for the church, they're for the world.
for the world. And what else?
You can use them. Go get you a microphone, get you a platform, start a podcast, start a business, excel at the business you already got. Find your mountain and get to the top of that.
So everybody ain't got to be in the pulpit.
Everybody ain't got to be in the pulpit.
And we were out here fighting a position in the pulpit.
Yeah.
My God. Woo! Then you said get the right people. We just
you
gotta
gotta-
repeat this.
You got to get the right people, right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and then get the right people in the right seat. So, you know, not everybody's qualified to drive the bus. Not everybody, you know, and so those are and see, that's what I tell people all the time is that's the conversations you need to have, you know. But if you get caught up with the petty stuff and the squabbles and all this kind of stuff, you'll never get to having the right conversations with people, you know. Like when you take somebody and you teach them how to become a business owner or how to excel on their job, you know. I work with people. I work with a young man in sales, and he called me up the year before last. He's in mortgages, but he said, "Guess how much I made?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, $300,000. I'm like, "Well, you made more than me." And he was like, "But it's all because of you, because you helped me you helped me find my purpose. You helped me put me in the right seat." Like, and that's what I tell people. And then now that testimony is going further than me just Jesus loves you. You know, but we had to get him in. He wasn't in the right. He wasn't in the right position, and he was frustrated with that too. And that's a lot of people in the church when they don't know their purpose, they get frustrated. They start coming after you. They're coming after your family. You don't know what to do with them. Now you got to play politics, and you know, have these tough conversations. But you know, I want to teach people how to discover themselves. I want to teach people how to discover their gifts, how to deploy their gifts.
Yes.
And the joy that I get from doing that is supersedes, you know, everything else. So, but again, just have necessary conversations and don't waste a lot of energy on things that you don't need to waste energy on. So.
And you did not get mad, jealous, or upset at the fact that he made more money.
Oh yeah, I want, you know, and that's what I wanted for him. And when he came to me, and this wasn't a person that we had a church relationship with, but when he came to me, I told him, I said, man, he was just complaining about the job. And I say, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. I never seen anybody do what you do as well as you, but you got to walk out. You got to step out on faith. You're not gonna walk on the water without getting out of the boat.
Come on.
And when he told me that, I was amazed, you know. And he says, it's all because of you. And I'm like, when I take on people, that's the kind of projects I want to take on. That's the kind of success stories that I'm looking for. That's the kind of outcomes I don't want people to come to me and then leave worse than they met me at.
Come on.
You know, I want to be a completely different person. And that's what we're trying to do right now with the ministry and with everything we do. And that's the kind of our North Star and our guiding light, so to speak. So
I love it. I love it. Y'all dropping stuff like this on the night. I just know what. Listen, Sundays be heavy, huh? I know Sundays be heavy.
you know,
Good God.
I'm on T.
All right, so this gonna be my last question. What advice or encouragement can you give to other young couples who are transitioning into leadership roles in ministry?
And you can go her.
Well, okay, so you know, it's kind of like a culmination of everything that I mentioned. You need to know yourself. You know, you need to know who you are, why you're here, where you're from, what you can do, and where you're going. And I feel like if and that's borrowed from Dr. Miles Monroe, but you need to be able to answer those questions. You know, the goal of what we're doing in ministry is not to just get up and sound good every Sunday and preach people into a frenzy and send them home and they didn't get nothing. You know, and the way, you know, well, so you've been an educator, right? So all these years you was an educator. What was the measuring stick on if you were a good educator or not?
The growth.
The grades. Because at some point, they got to take a test.
Come on.
And Mrs. Wyatt loving me and Mrs. Wyatt, you know, all this stuff, her class is fun. She do skit or whatever. Don't matter if everybody fails. And
That's
so
right.
How do we get judged as teachers? It's got to be the growth.
The growth.
You know, and I tell our people all the time, hey, some of y'all know too much about God to live the way you do.
Help us.
So at some point, all the teaching that's been good, apply it. Show me it's been good by producing the fruit from the seed that we gave you.
Come on.
And that's, you know, going back to the question of what do we do with young ministers? One, you can't just jump into this just to jump in. Like it's not like a job. It's not like something you just pick up and then you throw down. You know, it's lives at stake. So it's something that you have to handle with care. It's fragile. You can really hurt somebody. You can really mess people up. So this can't be an ego trip. You got to die to yourself. You got to die to your ego. And if God really called you to do it, it's better for you to go ahead and get that out of the way now than doing it on your main stage. See, and that's the thing that when we talked about comfort zone, one of the things that, while I will admit I'm not perfect, I always ask God, I'm like, Lord, I don't want whatever needs to happen, I need it to happen now.
Yeah.
And not when I'm in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get into the Super Bowl and, you know, my lack of practice and my lack of training and my lack of attention and my lack of attention to detail start to show up on me. So young people, you know, first timers, young people, whoever we're talking to, find yourself. Figure out who you are. Figure out why you're doing what you're doing. I had a brother who he was in it, and then like he got a better paying job. Then it was like, whoa, that's what I feel like I get to be an evangelist. I'm like, well, yeah, you was called to be an evangelist. You wasn't called to just be preaching every Sunday. And now you get to spread the message, and you making money, and everything is good. So, find yourself and know what you're doing and why you're doing
not
it.
called a pastor.
Everybody not called a pastor. And I'm not, and also I tell you this right here. Your calling, it ain't for me to say if you called or not.
Right.
So you trying to impress me with,
okay.
Hey, you
enticing
gotta,
words.
You gotta live with this decision.
Come on.
And you gotta figure out what you're willing to do. And we talked earlier, Christy and I, about balance. And I told her I don't believe in balance. Because the picture that when you think about the word balance, you think about the old school scale, right? You think about it. But I'm like, to me, that picture paints perfection. And I'm like, I don't believe in balance. When people ask me about work-life balance, I don't believe in it personally. I tell people, hey, it's all about trade-off. I'm willing to do this. So if you had a job making $30 an hour and they gave you, hey, this the stuff you got to do every day. But then if they tripled your workload for the same money, you would go, hey, I got a problem with this, right? But if you were to triple my workload, triple my pay. And I might be willing to do it. So I feel like, hey, I'm willing to do certain things, and this is the trade-off that I'm willing to accept. But if you're a couple going into it, you need to have deep conversations about, and you need to get, and the last thing I'll say before I kick it over to Christy is, get under people. Get under people who have a proven track record of success.
Okay, good.
People who have, who are trustworthy, people who are relatable, people who are reliable, and be willing to be, at that level when we're talking about going into ministry, it's not about mentorship. It's not about somebody being a teacher to you. It's about sonship.
Come
and
on.
be willing to submit to whoever you accepted as your father and sit there at their feet and learn from them. And that's going to help basically accelerate your life, because there's a lot of pitfalls you're going to avoid because you were willing to be a son. But it's a lot of people that's going in, they want to be spiritual fathers, and they never been a son. And, now you got you have a lot of fiascos, and when it hits the fan, it's hitting the fan in front of everybody on the main stage. And that's the thing that I never wanted. I didn't want to have to take a step back and be like, oh, let me reevaluate. Lord, I repent. I had to repent. I don't want to grow something to a certain point, and then we look up and it's like, oh man, this dude wasn't living what he was preaching, and scandal. And a lot of people love scandal. So that would be my points, that my advice. But I always tell people, hey, with my opinion, in $2 you can buy a Coke. So
Wait.
you can take it and apply it or let it fly. But that's my stance.
Before you start.
Okay.
So they don't get a 90-day probation with this.
No, you don't. But you do now if you go through the proper sonship.
Talk about it.
That's probation the whole time.
Talk about it.
And you get to learn. You got to think about Moses hit the main stage and it was all on him. But you could go into sonship and you can learn from your spiritual father. And now you got what? A double anointing.
Come on.
So again, I don't want to have a trial and error. And that's why I'm glad I didn't have. There's some people that had to do trial and error. God called them. There was nobody available to be there, and God guided them through. But if you have the option, that's what I was telling, why I said I wanted at least another 18 months. Because I'm like, oh, man, I would have this done, this done, this done, this set up, this on automatic, this on, But I tell people all the time, if you don't have to, just if you were to come to me right now and say, Drew, I want to open my own business, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow. I'll be like, you ain't got to do that. You could work your way up to it. You could start it as a side hustle. you know. But a lot of people, when they get that call, they want to immediately just
Yeah.
jump into it, jump
Mhm.
to the front of the line, and they skip
Mhm.
steps. And a lot of times when you skip steps, you end up
Yeah,
tripping
because
over
a
'em.
lot of people get prophecies and think they're supposed to just do it right then.
Yeah. And I was laughing. There was somebody I was very close to, and he was like, man, he was talking about his marriage, and I'm funny, and people don't know how funny I am, but he said that it was a gut feeling, and I'm like, well, how you know it wasn't gas? So-
Right.
So you don't, you know, some of these prophecies, man, you got to be able to test this stuff. Like, man, I'm like, they just laying. I never forget it. If I'm lying, I'm flying. I was with the prophet, and he was laying hands on people. And I'm not saying he was wrong. He laid hands on a brother and told him he was going to be a basketball star. The dude was 4'10" and didn't even play basketball. And I was like, I think he was talking to me, you know. But I was amazed at it because the dude didn't play basketball. And this is, I'm telling you, and this happened 25 years ago, but I'll never forget it. But again, when we see sometimes with certain prophets where they come and lay hands, and it's like, man, people go and act on that word. And that's, now this is something, and I know I'm talking too much by the look
Go ahead.
on my wife's face. This is something I have a personal problem with because what I've noticed is, now I'm your pastor. But you didn't went and got a word from somebody. But I'm your pastor. Now you ain't moved on none of the words I didn't gave you, but somebody laid their hands on you.
Because
you sold
the word,
$1,000 seed. Now you know, so
because the word should be able to connect with what has already been told.
yeah.
By what you've been taught.
Yeah.
You know, that I get it.
And you know, some people go out and you know they chase, you know. But I'm not gonna get into that because again, the one thing I will tell people that I'm very firm on this stance is ultimately it's your life. Outside of my 3 boys, hey, it's your life. You got to be accountable for it and you got to manage it. And you can't, if you look up and you have regret when you 65 or on your deathbed or whatever, it's up to you to get whatever you need to get out of life. So that's my thing is, hey, but if you submit to me as your pastor, then you need to submit. You know?
Absolutely. Go ahead, baby.
Now I just want y'all to recap who we said was the
long-winded.
It's not even though, because he said you found your win tonight.
No, I think my advice would be exploring things outside of the church. What do I mean by that? In our Tuesday night women's class, the biggest thing I have been trying to embark into these women is that, look, you can use your Bible, you can use your scripture, your prayer, but also God has gifting in other areas to meet you. If you struggling with something like, Lord, I'm dealing with this grief, I don't know how to, get you a therapist. There are Christian therapists out there that can help you, walk you through. My biggest thing is don't feel like you have to suffer in silence. And everything, and I'm an advocate, everything just can't be prayed and read through the Bible out. Like some things, it's just like, and I really stress this, y'all. I'm going to get on my little thing, especially with mental health. I'm a big advocate for it because if I had cancer or diabetes, you wouldn't tell me, oh, you just pray. You don't need to take no medicine. You don't. No, you'd be like, oh, we'll take your medicine, but we're going to pray for healing and all.
Right.
Yeah. So if I have a sister coming to me telling I'm dealing with depression, I got postpartum depression, I don't know how. Baby, go see you a therapist that can help you, even if for a short while, if it's going to require whatever you need to do to get you into a space. Yes, we believe in God will heal you. However, it is who am I to tell you to suffer, sit there and suffer until that healing comes? Pray, ask God, like, God, how do I deal with this? Who can you bring in my life to help equip me to get to this thing? If that is a therapist for a short while or whatever it is, my biggest thing is and I feel like this is one thing I've struggled a lot with in church, and I really want to like change that narrative of we always just say, oh, go pray about it, go read your Bible, or go study. People need application.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't go to a doctor that just like, oh, well, God told me I'm gonna be a doctor. I prayed about it. He confirmed it. And I ain't had to go to school or nothing. Like I ain't have to learn nothing outside of that, but now I'm a doctor. No, I would quickly gather my things and exit that office.
Absolutely.
So we need to start teaching the application of things. Yes, I'm praying about it. I'm reading scriptures dealing with grief or depression, but also let me help teach you steps, how to process it. How to, a lot of times, especially in our church community, I don't even understand what I'm feeling. Like, I don't even know. I'm just thinking I'm in a fog or something like that. No, baby, that's depression. No, baby, like those what you're saying is not just you on the verge. That's suicidal thoughts. They have a name. Like, let's label it. And being authentic in that. Like, okay, this is where you are. That's fine. We all have our things. How can we help you out? But teaching you actual application. Like, okay, baby, doing this, but also in this, start journaling out your things. Start if you can't. A big thing we talked about in the women's group. For those single women out there, how are you dating and trying to find somebody to spend your life with when you can't even tell me what you like about yourself? Like, have you even dated yourself? Like, do you know yourself to be able to present it to somebody? So spending that time to, like, kind of reiterating what Drew said, really getting to know yourselves. Also knowing, like, you know what? There are other things outside of this building that we call church that I can utilize to help me get to where I'm going. If I'm noticing, like, hey, I'm struggling with public speaking, let me really teaching our people application. And I think that's the hardest thing, is then when you find those, what we call in the therapy world, we call them kind of our reoccurrence or our relapse of things. But that's what we see in Christian. Every time I am in a tough spot, I need to come get a word, or I need pastor to pray for me, or I need that. At some point, baby, you should get to a level where you don't need me. Honestly, at some point, I should not be your first option. At some point, you should have enough word in you, enough knowledge in you to say, you know what, this new, but Pastor Charity, Pastor Andrew, they done taught me, and I know what to do with this. Because at some point, and I'm a big thing on, I want to have people that I can go send. Like, I can have full trust. That person, I've imparted in that person. They know what to do. If I hook this sister, I don't have to worry about that because I know who they are. But if you're not really applying the things that we're teaching, or really studying and getting that down in your heart, you ain't, what are use of you to me? How are you helping? I believe in a dual relationship.
Come on.
You should be getting something out of this relationship. I should be getting something out of this relationship. If every time I look up, you are in a state of need, and I constantly keep giving you, and I know we have seasons where, like, okay, this person going through it. I'm not saying that, but if we 2-3 years together, girl, you in the same space, baby, I ain't the one for you then. I am not, you are not meant, like you said, go find you another church, because you ain't growing in here. And I don't know if it's me or you, but something ain't working.
Absolutely.
And so that would be my biggest advice, is just staying true to who you are, but also identifying, like, it is okay to explore other avenues outside of the church. Don't feel like you have to be, oh, well, this is how my family did it. This is how the old church pastor did it, and different things. It don't work. Back in the day, the Lord tell us all the time, she had 6 of us. Hardly half of us didn't have car seats. I bet she wouldn't do that today. So it's like, just because
back in the day, it wasn't, that's
Exactly. So the biggest thing is just, like, really exploring those other options, staying true to who you are. But the biggest thing is being open-minded to different things.
Yeah.
Don't ever feel like in ministry you got to the point where, like, oh, I've got enough training, I feel like I'm not. Because when you stop learning, that means you stop growing.
Because you never have arrived.
You never have arrived.
Never.
I don't want to ever,
Never.
and I say this to me and my daddy, I don't ever, if somebody asks me, my biggest fear is I don't want to get to heaven. And Jesus, I say, all right, Jesus, then I done. And Jesus tell me, okay, you had a good life, you had all this, but this was all the things I had for you that you never got, because you could either cut yourself off or you felt like you had reached your point, so you stopped pushing yourself.
My.
And so that's my little tangent.
Girl, y'all talking good tonight. That's all I'm saying. Listen, if y'all need somewhere to worship on Sunday, if you live in Campton, surrounding areas, whatever, check out Kingdom Life Center. What time y'all service start?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. You will see these beautiful people there. Also, you will see, I call him Apostle. I call him the Apostle of Government. But yes, the man of God. Pastor Roland Smith, and I call her prophetess, Barbara Smith. Yes, so listen, God is doing some great things there. Also, hey, you can come see us. We right here at 106 Brickyard Road, Natchitoches, Louisiana. We start at 11 a.m. every Sunday. And listen, if this broadcast blessed you tonight, I want you to go and tell some people, hey, I need you to go and watch this. This has been amazing. This has been an amazing journey. And thank you all for tuning in. I won't see you again for probably another 2 weeks. Enjoy your holiday. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. It will be 2025 when I see you again. So, hey, I love you. Pastor Andrew loves you. Pastor Christy loves you. And we all love you. Even Mr. Producer loves you. Pastor Chris in his absence love you. And we will see you guys January the 7th, 2025. Thank you for chatting with Charity. Stay tuned.
I'm so glad that you called me your son.
Lord, I know it's been a while since I wrote my love letter, but in that time I've done some growing and things have really gotten better. I still deal with issues, but you already know them. Being accountable to my leaders, man, it's just a part of growing. I know adversity has to come to make me stronger, building my faith and foundation so that I could last longer. God, I thank you for this hunger and the times of refreshing and trusting me to be a son. Man, that's such a blessing. I must confess that this walk ain't always been easy. People tried to come and hurt me, but you never deceived me. It's the little things you do that makes this worth it, like seeing my son on Sunday mornings giving you praise and worship.
You see me in my worst, see me in my best. You help me conquer fear.